So if retirement is on the horizon, or you're a recent empty nester and y'all are thinking about your next phase of life and you want to move to the Southeast, well, I have the perfect place for you. Greenville, South Carolina, which has been named one of the South's best cities according to Southern Living, and is known to have one of the best downtowns in all of the United States. So in this video, we're gonna talk about what I wish I knew before I moved to Greenville and how that applies to you possibly retiring to our wonderful area. Let's do it. As always, my friends, my name is Will Sawyer, your friend in real estate here in the Upstate of South Carolina, and it's our goal with this channel that we are your #1 resource for all the things that you need to know about your relocation to Greenville. We're aiming to provide you with the most relevant, the most practical, and the most useful information in helping you make a decision as to whether or not you're going to move to our wonderful area. So let's get into the video. So I moved to Greenville in 2018, and before that, I lived in Spartanburg for 4 years. So I've been in the Upstate for about 10 years, and I've seen in that time a lot of changes happen in our area. Mostly good, but of course not everything. So first things first, let's talk about geography and how that's going to impact your daily life if you move here to Greenville. So Greenville's in the northwest corner of South Carolina. When we just look at the Upstate, you have Travelers Rest north of Greenville, you have Simpsonville and Malden and Fountain Inn south of Greenville. Just to the east of Greenville, you have Taylors and Greer, then there's Spartanburg, and then west of Greenville, you have Easley, Anderson, Lake Keowee, and Clemson. So if you live on the northern part of the county, so like Travelers Rest, northern Greer, you're gonna be closer to the mountains. You'll have more proximity to the Blue Ridge Mountains and places like Table Rock State Park, Paris Mountain State Park, or quicker conveniences into Asheville. Now, if you live on the east side of town, so Greer, Taylors, maybe that west side of Spartanburg County, that's an area that's been developed for quite some time. So your daily conveniences, you're only gonna be maybe 10, 15 minutes away from practically anything that you need on a weekly and daily basis. And if you live south of town, so like Malden, Simpsonville, Fountain Inn, maybe Five Forks, same thing. It is an area that has been developed for quite a bit of time, so you're only gonna be maybe 10 to 15 minutes from everything that you're gonna need on a weekly and daily basis. Now, if you want a flatter set of scenery, the southern part of town is going to be better for you. Now, if you want more rolling hills, the northern part of town is going to be better for you. And keep in mind, the more industrial areas, you know, there's the largest BMW plant in the entire world is here in Greer. And with that, a lot of contractors with BMW are here also. A lot of these contractors are located near and around BMW, and also with really quick access to Interstate 85 and 385 right where they intersect. So a lot of industrial space is on the southern part of Malden, and also along 385 and Simpsonville and then Fountain Inn. So keep that in mind as well if you don't want to be close to, you know, industrial buildings, industrial warehouses. If you're on the southern part of town, that's something that you're going to be seeing a lot more of compared to the northern rim of the county. So next, let's talk about downtown Greenville. So if you're looking for a really walkable place, if you're looking for a more urban environment, if you're looking just to be close to downtown Greenville, because that's the reason you're moving here, and there's a few things that you should know. One being, in the last 5 or so years since I've moved here, traffic downtown has gotten a little bit worse. You know, especially on Academy Street at rush hour, you can plan to sit in your car for at least 10 or 15 minutes more than you otherwise would. South Church Street, which is the other main corridor around downtown, it still moves pretty well at rush hour, but right as you come up to Washington and right as you come up to McBee, that's where it starts to get a little bit congested. So you will sit in traffic more than you did 5 years ago today on South Church Street as well. Also to note, a lot of these sub-communities in downtown Greenville that are on the fringes of downtown, like Deneen or the communities along Anderson Road, those are developing. So they may be considered downtown, but they're not necessarily going to be what you would envision a downtown to look like, right? So Greenville has been this really popular destination only for the last 10 or 15 years. So some of downtown is still in the 20th century when Greenville was the textile capital of the world. We have several mill villages around downtown where many of the folks who worked in the mills lived. We're starting to see those mill villages turn over, like Deneen. And we're also starting to see a lot of new construction pop up around downtown and in these fringe communities. Next to my Airbnb, which is just outside city limits, there's 3 homes being built, which is really going to help change the face of that particular street, which is great. And lastly, downtown Greenville is still an amazing place. A lot of the folks that I work with initially are interested in Greenville because of what they saw on the internet or in videos of downtown Greenville. When you come to downtown Greenville, you'll note just how clean it is, how safe it seems, and all of the festivals that we have here that really keeps the community engaged, like Fall for Greenville, which is the largest festival here every year, the Greek Festival coming up in a few weeks, and then Artisphere, which is one of the largest art festivals in the entire country. Other than that, there's many great restaurants. There's a minor league baseball team to enjoy. There's several great coffee shops. There's several great cocktail bars. There's just a plethora of things to do here in downtown Greenville. So next, let's talk about things to do depending on where you live. So as we mentioned before, the southern part of town, which is Malden, Simpsonville, Fountain Inn, if you live in these places, you're going to have very convenient access to the interstate, which will take you to Pelham Road, which will take you to Haywood Road where the mall is, which will take you into downtown Greenville within 15 to 30 minutes. You'll also have really easy access to Fairview Road in Simpsonville, which is kind of like the mini Woodruff Road here in Greenville. So Woodruff Road's the shopping hub here in Greenville, and Fairview Road is kind of like a mini version of Woodruff Road there in Simpsonville. So, you got your Starbucks, you got your Target, you got a number of restaurants and a number of other businesses that service a lot of folks who are shopping throughout the week. So then if you live on the northern side of town, so let's say Pickens, Travelers Rest, northern part of Greer, you're gonna have a little bit farther commute to, say, shopping, unless you live within proximity to Wade Hampton Boulevard, which is Highway 29, and it's the road that connects Greenville and Spartanburg. A lot of shopping on Wade Hampton Boulevard. However, if you don't live close to Wade Hampton Boulevard, you're gonna have a little bit longer commute to get to your everyday conveniences. Also, while the distance might be shorter than, say, Fountain Inn or Simpsonville, it's actually going to take you arguably longer to get to downtown Greenville if you live on the northern part of the county, because the roads, they're not Interstate 385, right? The speed limit's less, and it's going to take you longer to travel a shorter distance. Now, if you like to get outside and walk or cycle or run, you might want to be convenient to the Swamp Rabbit Trail. So it'd be great for us to look in the Travelers Rest area or just north of Greenville, where the trail spans from TR to Greenville. And there's also plans for the Swamp Rabbit Trail to branch off from its existing trail line. So right now it goes from Travelers Rest to Greenville down to Conisty Nature Preserve. And there's plans for the trail to extend along Lawrence Road, Verde Boulevard. There's been talks that the trail would go into Simpsonville along Heritage Park, but there's really no concrete plans in place for that to happen. So if you want to be convenient to the trail, Travelers Rest north of Greenville, around Conisty Nature Preserve, and then possibly around Bridgeway Station, which is the new hub of Malden, and that's where the Swamp Rabbit Trail should be connecting here very soon. So let's briefly talk about the rental market here. So if you are going to be moving and planning on purchasing a house, several of my clients make that move buying a house sight unseen. Some of my clients don't want to do that, and they want to get here and rent for a short time while we start looking at houses. So if you have a house to sell and you're hoping to simultaneously buy a house, that gives us a rather tight window to find you a home. While it can be done, it's gonna be a little bit more pressing and a little bit more challenging versus if you were to sell your house, move into a short-term rental for 2 to 5 months, and then in that 2 to 5 month window, we look for you a home, which at the end of the day is probably gonna make your life a little bit easier. However, most of my clients do end up buying a house simultaneously as they are selling their current home. Now, if you wanted to get a 12-month rental, that's going to make things a little bit more challenging also, because you'll have to get your house under contract and really ready to move, because long-term rental companies are not going to accept your rental application unless you're moving within the next 1 to 2 weeks. So to combat that, we can get you into a short-term rental where you can go ahead and solidify your housing for the upcoming months while you move here and we start looking for a house. So finally, let's talk a little bit about real estate. So far in 2024, new listings are up compared to this time last year, about 1.5%. Closed sales so far this year comparing up to this point in 2023 are down slightly, 3.7%. However, the average sales price in 2024 so far this year in Greenville is about $370,000, which is up about 6.5% compared to this same time period in 2023. So despite a small downturn in closed sales, we're still seeing an increase in prices. So to me, that says that there's no decrease in demand. Economists like to see an average appreciation annually in real estate prices anywhere from 3 to 6%. So despite there being less sales and prices still being up, that tells me that there's still a high demand here in Greenville and that there's plenty of people moving here, and that's probably going to continue for the foreseeable future, in my opinion. Now, things that are going to affect the real estate market, say this year and moving into the future, of course, are going to be international relations and what happens abroad with international conflict. Also, the Fed's monetary policy, which is affecting interest rates, which is affecting the real estate market. However, despite those two things, I don't anticipate people just pumping the brakes on moving southeast, especially to a place like Greenville, where they have more personal liberty, where their taxes are much better than in the Northeast and in Florida, where their insurance is not near as high as it is in Florida. And the overall quality of life is just a lot higher in a place like Greenville compared to other places in the United States. So all of those things are certainly things that you need to think about before retiring to Greenville, South Carolina. And I hope that this information in this video that we provided was super helpful in helping you make a decision whether or not you want to retire to Greenville or not. If you are thinking about retiring to our area, I would love to chat with you about what that could look like. So please send me an email at my email below or shoot me a text at my cell phone number below. I would love to chat with you about what retiring to Greenville could look like for you and possibly your family. Thanks so much. Well, this video is going to be about Greenville County, the upstate of South Carolina. Great thing to do and easily in the evening. I'm a local real estate expert here in the area. All time, we're right behind me is a really cool place called Freight Yard.